If you are searching for essential oils for the root chakra, then you've come to the right place. Hello, welcome back to Fellowship in Essential Oils. It's a brand new series. This is called our Sixth Sense series. Really great when you've got a gay list trying to get that title out. We are still Fellowship in Essential Oils, but now we're going to take you on a deep dive each and every week into one aspect of spirituality and metaphysics. And we couldn't go forward without the amazing Liz. How are you today, Liz?
I'm very excited to talk about this. I've got to admit that the first time that you said I want to do essential oils for the chakras, I was like, oh, what again? And then now I've plunged into it. I was like, there's so much that I haven't said. There's so much that nobody else is saying. And so this is going to be really exciting to me, I think.
Now, there is lots of information out there that kind of gives the basics of what the chakras are, but in a nutshell, I would describe them as being energy centers that are mainly in the body, but we will be venturing beyond the body in later episodes as well. And each of these kind of resonates with a different aspect of life, different parts of the body, different systems of the body. And the main seven that we're going to dive into first resonate also with the colors of the rainbow. So we're looking at the root chakra, which is also known as the base chakra, resonates with the color red. Now, for you, Liz, what kind of does the base chakra govern, do you find?
Security would be my overall statement. Actually, so I will say I've been and got this book. I don't know if you know it, by C.W. Ledbetter. It'll be 100 years old in 2027, and he was the first guy to really put colours to the chakras and to also tie in with the nerve plexuses and also the hormones and glands. So he's really interesting to read. And the other person that's really fascinating to read is a lady called Anna Dear Judith, and she talks about how the root chakra, that energy forms in the first 7 years of your life. And it's that time where you learn, is life a safe place, basically? And if I ask for help, will help come? And if I cry, will there be food? All of those things, the body starts to remember about one's reality. And of course, within that time, also, we have potty training, which I always find potty training is really interesting aspect of the root chakra, because it really starts to like address how controlling we are, whether we're anal retentive or not, whether we feel relaxed enough to be able to let go to go to the toilet, then starts to permeate through life. Can we live in a relationship and let people go out, or do we worry about that? Do we worry about money? Do we worry that all of these things start to accumulate in the root chakra? And I think what's interesting is when you learn it from the internet, I've noticed that it's all about blocked root chakra. But when you are doing it from a medicinal point of view, because we use it a lot in aromatherapy, in the British School of Aromatherapy, we learn to find out, first of all, is it in the right place? Is it sitting over where it should be? So they're like vortices, wheels of energy that open and close. They should be opening and closing all of the time. So not only is a blocked root chakra a problem, but also one that's way too open is a problem too. So really good aromatherapy about the root chakra is being able to stabilize and balance it so that we can have control at that space, because this is where Tantra will tell you that Kundalini is coiled. And so without that good fortification at the root chakra, Kundalini cannot climb. It's like there's a snake on the side of a rock. It needs to be stabilized on the rock for the cobra's head to come up.
And so the base chakra is a really important one. It's not one of the most spiritual ones. It's not the exciting heart chakra, but it's like the cement slab of a house. If you don't have that nice and balanced, and I love that we're using that terminology, I tend to work with overactive and underactive, but again, there's that too open or too much energy or not enough. So it's not just on off, it's either kind of I almost imagine a scale of 1 to 100. 0 is very underactive and very closed. 100 is way open and way overactive, and we want to kind of get it at the 50. And that's going to fluctuate throughout life, isn't it? There'll be different things that will happen on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, from when we were potty training that will determine that. But we can use these amazing gifts of essential oils to help us balance the essential oil. But this is the key thing, I think, is you can find online, there's lots of information going, this is a base chakra or a root chakra blend. But my base chakra is going to be different to Liz's, which is going to be different to yours that's watching or listening right now. So what's the best oil for you? Well, it depends. And hopefully, in our conversation in the next few moments, we're going to shed some light on that. And I'm going to talk, first of all, about one of my favorite base chakra essential oils. It's cedarwood. Now, I love that you said the word security is a key word for the base chakra. I often say safety because it's about, can we fulfill those primal needs as well? Do we feel safe and secure in our environment? But do we also feel that we can, feed ourselves, pay our bills, stay living in our house, and those different types of things? In our modern world, one of the things we have that is really challenging is certainty. Think about when we had the COVID pandemic, and that was the most unsettling thing, is no one knew what was going to happen. Now, on a physiological level, what you find with cedarwood is that when we breathe it in, it actually helps to calm down the nervous system and really helps to settle us, to help us to feel a bit more stable. It's a beautiful one to use in a diffuser, using your skincare, especially as the sun starts to set, as those worries and uncertainties start to creep up. Now the noise of the day is gone. So I use this one to help bring more certainty into our lives. And you may have heard me talk about the myth before, where it was said that the creator rolled up his blueprint of how he wanted life to be and hid it in a cedarwood tree. So by working with cedarwood, it's going to really bring that groundedness. It brings that strength of the big tree, and really beautiful for helping you when you have an underactive base chakra, just to feel a bit more safety and okay with uncertainty and okay with the flux of life.
I love that. I have to say, I'll give a bit of a glimpse behind the scenes to people who are watching, that we had a spreadsheet, so I know the oil that he's going to say, but I don't know any of the reasons why he's going to say it. So this is fascinating to me. And when I had to put my 3, I was like, oh, flipping heck, he's taken cedarwood. So it's really good that you had chosen that. I'm interested to know, do you have an opinion on which cedarwood?
I must admit, the one that I have the most experience with would be the one that's not even a cedar. It's the good old Juniperus Virginia. I'm not going to get that the
Yeah,
last name
Cedarwood
right.
Virginian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what I work with the most. But I love working with Atlas cedar, and I would use that in a similar way as well.
yeah, so that would be my feeling about it as well. That the Virginian cedarwood, the cedar of North America. I work with 6 different North American cedars. But in terms of their philosophy of which is the most protective tree, which is the one that opens us and grounds us, then I would agree that Cedarwood Virginian is really interesting. I think I would go for Cedarwood Atlas, though. Thinking about it from a scientific point of view, if one can be scientific about the chakras. Have you ever come across the book Molecules of Emotion by Candice Pert?
I don't think I have yet. No.
Oh, so this is an amazing book. You should definitely read it. So she's Dr. Candice Pert, actually, and she was a neuroscientist at the NIH, and she was a really important person in the 1980s, 90s, and was instrumental in the journey towards identifying the opioid receptor. She identified the opioid receptor, and then her work went on to discover endorphins and enkephalins. So, very important lady. And she talks about how the molecules of the emotion are neuropeptides. And she was the first person to say that I think that these peptides moving through the body are our feelings. I think that's what you feel when you feel a feeling. It's a neuropeptide. And in it, she talks about how she gives a little anecdote of when a guru came to see her, a yogi dressed in his lovely turban and robe, and she says, and he came in and he said, "Can I see a picture of where you have plotted these channels of neuropeptides?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." So she showed him the picture, and he laid a picture of the chakras over the top. And she says, and it was really stunning to be able to see that really seems to be the similar places. And to me, this was so evocative. I read it about 10 years ago, and it really inspired everything that I wanted to learn about neurotransmission. And specifically, she talks about one molecule, which is CRF, cortisol releasing factor. And cortisol releasing factor happens when one perceives stress. And what's really interesting is I've looked at loads of literature about chronic pelvic pain syndrome because I have it. You can see that within the same space as the root chakra, there are loads and loads of receptors for the CRF and for the adenosine receptor, which is the caffeine receptor. So when I look at somebody's root chakra, I can often see it being fuzzy when somebody has had a lot of caffeine. And I was like, so that really makes sense. That's what I'm seeing. But also the science really backs up now that because CRF, cortisol release factor, is a really important aspect to address for people who have these problems in the pelvic pain. When that happens with like going to the toilet, through sex, all of those things, it's a lot to do with that signaling. So if you imagine that this is the molecule of negative expectation, and that cedarwood, its most primary function is to deal with negative thinking, it's a really good, like, fast way into like sorting that out, if we can using the air quotes. So from that point of view, I think that's really interesting. But also, Cedarwood Atlas, you can't say it about the other cedarwoods because it's the only one with proof. But we know that Cedarwood Atlas has constituents in it that will interact with the CB1 receptor. In the endocannabinoid system, CB1 is one of the main things that governs anxiety. And so when anxiety is skewed, if you can find a way to manipulate CB1 receptor, and incidentally, the common way to do that would be to self-medicate using THC, which is in marijuana. That's why we feel calm. But actually being able to work with the CB1 receptor to be able to say, get calm, and cedarwood would do that. And getting calm is the groundingness of the root chakra. So I think that you hit on an extremely clever oil there.
Yeah, it's one of the classics for the base chakra. So I'm sorry to steal that one off you, but what's one of the ones that you find is another one you can use for the base chakra in different circumstances?
Well, let me just do a little bit of a personal advert so that we can get some context here. As I say, when you first said let's do chakras, I was like, really? And I thought, no, I really could do some serious work here, because I've done so much work to do with how the emotions and the body interact in that spiritual bridge. There's got to be a way of putting that together. And so I've created something called the Sensorium Approach, which will go on sale next month. And essentially, there's lots of aspects to it, but essentially what we have is a set of about 40 questions per chakra where you say, does this apply to you? If it says yes, then you tick a box and it says, right, I would use that oil for that, so that you kind of get a personalized diagnosis and prescription. So my oil would be, I think, the one that I use most often for the root chakra, because really it's working with the spirit of the plant that knows about roots, is vetiver. I just think that it is so grounding and so soothing, and also like the way that its roots go vertically down into the ground and really anchor you, as opposed to going out, which most plants do. You know, it goes as long as the plant is high, and the plant can be like 8 feet high, so that far in, and being able to tap into that energy. And I love this. I don't know if you ever saw the meme that was going around a couple of years ago. It's disappeared now, and I kind of miss it. Of like a skeleton with his essential oil bottle, and he's just like trying to get his vetiver out. He's died, he's decomposed, and he's still waiting. And I think that slowness is really very much a root chakra thing, because slow is really important here. You know, if you think about how when you're stressed everything speeds up, but you talked about how it vibrates on the color red, which incidentally was one of Leadbitter's first things. But when I really was quite interested in, well, I wonder why it vibrates on red, and that is the slowest wave frequency. And when you look at it, when it's measured in terms of using a radio probe and actually picking up the frequency, it has the slowest frequency. So anything that you can do to bring the body into slowness will really help the root chakra.
One thing I find interesting from my work with essential oils is how people relate to the aroma of different essential oils. And I find with vetiver, some people love it. They're like, oh, that smells just like the earth when it's rained. And then other people are like, yuck, that smells like dirt. And what I have seemed to find is those people that think it stinks like dirt and are not a fan of it are probably the ones that really, really struggle to slow down. And so do you think that that may be a great oil for people that are running around like mad chickens, doing too much, and that's why their base chakra is out of balance?
Yes, although I would say I'm going to talk about another oil in a minute, which is patchouli, and I would say that was more of a patchouli thing. I would say really this is for the people that are anxious and the people that are scared of life and have, you know, feel worried about letting things happen to themselves. I think that would be your your vetiver prescription, really.
That makes sense for sure. Now, another one, I'm going to talk about a bit of a boutique essential oil now, just to taunt people, and because I'm never happy with just the basics. And this is a new oil that's kind of started to pop up in availability due to the growing interest in traditional Chinese medicine herbs, and many of them produce essential oils. And one that would be great for the base chakra would be Schisandra, that some people may not have heard of. But I actually want to talk a little bit about ginseng. Now, ginseng as an essential oil, people may not be familiar with it as much, but we're definitely familiar with it as a plant, as a herbal supplement, and so on. And I think sometimes with the base chakra, when it's underactive, we need to just relax and calm down. And oils like the vetiver and cedarwood are really great for that. But sometimes we just need to reclaim control of our lives. Ginseng has that real ability to fire us back up. I think it's one of the most yang energy oils that I've ever worked with. It's very good as a adrenal regulator, so it works really well with the adrenal system to kind of sort that out and calming out that fight or flight to again feel empowered. So if you're feeling with your base chakra right now that you are like too many things are kind of mounting on top of me. This is making me feel unsteady, unsafe, unstable. I can either just take some deep breaths in, that's a vetiver or maybe a cedarwood, but maybe I need to push back and kind of go, hold on, I need to be a bit more assertive. I need to set up some boundaries or different things like that. And that's where I would reach for ginseng in that way. I think it's a great one to pop a couple of drops in a diffuser, a couple of drops in a spritzer, or even massage it on the soles of the feet, which is kind of linked to the base chakra beautifully as well. So that could be another one people might want to look out for. As I said, you've got to be careful where you're getting your essential oils from, that you are getting true essential oils. But I'm excited about ginseng being more readily available as time goes on and people being able to use that for their base chakra.
That's so interesting. Actually, have you had somebody comment on your videos about Schisandra this week?
Sorry, what was that? I missed that.
Have you had somebody comment on your videos about Schisandra this week? Did that prompt your thinking then?
Not really. No, to be honest with you, I am so bad on YouTube because I have so many videos now. People are so generous and so kind to make so many comments, and I just couldn't make any new content if I was to reply to everyone all the time. Why was there comments on my
Agree.
Sandra? Was there?
Yeah, so give a wave to Amanda Maples, who I think I've got her name right, because obviously didn't know that I was going to use it now. But she actually said this week, can you talk about, Sandra, is there an essential oil? And I said, oh, I think doTERRA have got one. I'll ask Adam about it. And then lo and behold, there you go. So I don't know anything about that oil. And actually, I know you were really excited when you first got your ginseng essential oil, weren't you? And you wanted to do a Fellowship of Essential Oils video, but I've never been able to get my hands on it. So I can't comment to that. But there's a lovely book by a lady called Isabella Landay, who wrote a book called Aphrodisiac. And she's got all beautiful cookery in there, and she always uses ginseng as a way of fortifying. So she makes these beautiful soups, like aphrodisiac food, and ginseng is always there for a fortification to make you feel stronger. So I think that's a really good recommendation, but I can't speak to it personally myself.
Oh, we've got to give people ambition and something to strive for. So now they've got a new essential oil to try and dig up and get their hands on.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.
You're talking about patchouli. So I find patchouli a fascinating oil. It's got lots of people have opinions on that. Why that one for the base chakra?
Well, to me, this is the iconic base chakra oil, really. And I think that you talk about people having very divisive opinions about the smell of vetiver. That's certainly true of patchouli. And I'm a big advocate of saying to people, if you are the same sort of age as me and you grew up in the 70s and you smelt patchouli then and it was horrible, yes, it was. And it was synthetic. It wasn't real patchouli. Real patchouli smells absolutely beautiful. And I've been very lucky in the past few months to be able to enjoy a new set of patchouli that I didn't know existed. So I have both light and dark patchouli now, because patchouli that's dark has taken on the colours of the still, the dark lead still used in India. And that's kind of got a much, much deeper resonance than even your normal patchouli. But I think the main skill of patchouli is that it brings energy down out of the head into the body. And structurally speaking, that's all we're trying to do with the root chakra, really. We're able to just bring energy to where you want it, to have it weighted down in that space. And that's what patchouli does.
So beautiful. It really helps with that kind of sense of presence, doesn't it? Being present in the moment. And I remember hearing a saying in the past that, if we're feeling pain and suffering, we're living in the past. And if we're feeling anxiety, we're living in the future. And if we can draw ourselves back to the present, which I think patchouli does beautifully, the suffering and the anxiety just goes.
Yeah, and I'm listening to on Audible a book called The Infinite Mind by a lady called Valerie Hunt, and she was a professor of kinesiology and some kind of psychomotor studies or something like that, movement studies, at the UCLA in the 1970s. And she was the first lady to be able to put sensors on the chakras and in the aura and to actually measure it scientifically. And she made a lovely point that I hadn't really thought about. She said that when you study quantum physics now, what it more and more suggests is that nothing actually exists outside of your attention. So until your attention goes onto it, nothing else exists. I was like, that's so interesting. And I think that really marries up with your idea that, well, the past's gone, the future's not here. What exists is the present as you concentrate on it. I think from a meditating point of view, that is really profound truth.
Fascinating. Now, we've talked a lot about different oils that will kind of help to settle us and ground us, and maybe if we've got an underactive base chakra, it might help it to kind of cultivate a bit more balance and harmony in that way. But something that gets less attention is when a base chakra is overactive. Now, I find this can present in different ways. And if you're wondering right now, hold on, I don't know where my base chakra is, I'm going to link and you can check it out on YouTube. I have a demonstration using a pendulum, and I find there are traits that you might identify as going, oh, that sounds like an underactive base chakra or an overactive, but you can also use a pendulum to do that as well. But I find when people have an overactive base chakra, so there's too much energy in that area, what happens is they feel overly safe, overly secure, where they can almost be reckless, a bit belligerent. And I find not only with their own well-being, but also with other people's well-being, not just their physical well-being, but also their emotional well-being as well. They can almost be far too fiery in that way. So this is a really great oil to use when this is the case, and that's cardamom. Now, cardamom is a classic of what an oil, and I've said this throughout all our shows, what an oil does physically, it does metaphysically. Cardamom really, really helps to get that fiery energy flowing properly. We use cardamom for the respiratory system to help us breathe easier. We use cardamom with the digestive system to help us digest more easily. We use it in massage for circulation to get the blood flowing more easily. So a lot of the time, think of that anger and that frustration, and sometimes we can have too much energy boiling up in there because it doesn't have anywhere to go. And what cardamom does, it takes anger, which is that fiery energy that has no outlet, and turns it into passion. And it actually helps to flow and dissipate and can really help with that fieriness that may be in the base chakra. Not as relatable, and people may not find that happens as much. And I don't find, when I'm working with people, I find more people have underactive than overactive. But some people will almost, I guess, that when we think about the base chakra, that fight or flight situation, many people are in flight, but if you're in fight status, that's where I'd reach for the cardamom, because you're almost like aggressive in the way of trying to regain your safety in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think one of the attributes, I mean, we haven't really talked about the physical attributes of the root chakra, but there are most definitely there. So if we have root chakra issues, it's almost like somebody has bisected us below the belly button, and the energy is not getting further down. So it's not getting to the feet, it's not getting to the legs, it's not getting to the hips. You'll see it a lot in like arthritic hips. You'll look and just, oh, what a surprise, root chakra's out. But I think the nice thing about cardamom is its warmth. And so if we do have this sort of lack of energy in the lower extremities, so for things like rheumatism and for arthritis, but sort of circulation and cramp in the legs, cardamom is lovely because it brings all that lovely heat into it. But also I would say that cardamom says, look how far you've come. It says, sit down, stop thinking about that, stop beating yourself up, look how far you've come. And I think that is a good, I think that could really help for people whose root chakra is probably okay-ish, but drops. And it like presents itself as imposter syndrome, for example. And you're like, well, I haven't got any proof of what I'm doing. Why am I talking about this? The medicine of cardamom is always to say, but look how far you've come. And when you do that journey, then you realize, I've acquired all of that knowledge, I've acquired all of those qualifications, I've acquired that network. Oh, actually, I'm a really long way down the track. So it's a really good oil for imposter syndrome. And that can be a solar plexus thing, but I think also definitely a root chakra thing.
And to think about it, we really live in a world that's always telling us that we should always be aspiring for the next goal, and that we're not making it, we're not successful, we're not safe in this world because we're falling behind. And I love that you shared that phrase about cardamom, but look how far you've come. We know, we often feel that we're very unsafe, but we're probably in one of the safest periods of humanity's life, from a health and well-being, from, all the different things we have. I think you look at stats and you're more likely to, die of a sword injury 200 years ago than die of something these days. Do you know what I mean? So we are actually sometimes that lack of safety or security that we've been talking about for the base chakra may be more perceptual than reality.
Yeah, well, yes, but I'll be controversial for a minute then. So I know that there's a lot of people living in the UK and living in the States. In the UK, a lot of benefits are getting taken away for disability payments. So people who are not working suddenly won't have any money. And in the States, I know there's a lot of people feeling very unsafe under the Trump administration, or even just like the political unrest around it all. Well, that will be showing through everybody's root chakra. We talk about it as if it's like a personal thing, and most definitely it is. But chakras are transactional, which means that they interact with the physical body, but they interact with the etheric bodies, and the etheric bodies also interact with the wider consciousness. So you can't, especially with the advent of media as it is now, you can't live in this world without it affecting you. And so this idea of being able to sit quietly, I'm not going to sit in a lotus position, but one has to be quiet if one does that. And one has to be present, and one has to be okay with this moment. I'm all right. There might be all sorts of really scary stuff going on outside, but that's outside. This is me, and I'm okay. And look how far I've come. That's a very cardamom thing.
Well, talking about you being controversial, anyone who's been watching Fellowship in Essential Oils will know that we don't always agree. Sometimes we believe that oils have different chakra associations or different planetary rulerships. And the final one you decided, I don't think is a base chakra, and I would position it in another energy center. But do you want to share what your number 3 is?
Well, so actually, yeah, I use it on. I agree that sometimes essential oils will work on many different chakras, and I would probably have more likely used cardamom for the sacral chakra myself, but for the same reasons. It's still got that sort of lift of energy, but the reason why you're being controversial about my chamomile, and specifically Roman chamomile, is that, well, yeah, I agree. It could be like solar plexus, or it could be heart chakra. It could be many, many different things. But I have chamomile plants in the garden, and they sing to me all of the time. They always have, and they always sing, "Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be." And so for somebody who is controlling, who has got this overactive root chakra, who is possessive, who is very, very controlling about money and won't spend it, and it's just like really got this very, very tight OCD anal retentive thing, chamomile goes, no, whatever will be, just let it flow, let it flow. So I agree that it probably isn't a root chakra oil, but when you look at the needs of the chakra, it absolutely attends to those needs of the chakra. And that's one of the things that I teach in the Sensorium Approach. You can look at a million different graphs of these different oils on like Pinterest things and stuff, and most of them are correct. But do you understand why they're correct, and do they address your issue? And if you have issues in the root chakra where the root chakra is making you way too tight on the world, and I think that applies to a lot of people after COVID, you know, people are still scared, then chamomile says, just let it go. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be.
So I think we've really kind of, this has always been a talking point that we've shared, that we have differences of opinion between ourselves, and we always say we're not right. So if this is someone's first episode and they've come for the answers, sorry, we haven't got the answers, but we've got suggestions. But you've got your Sensorium. I've got my book, Chakra Balancing with Nature's Gifts, where there is a quiz at the end of each chapter, and you can actually look at the questions or the statements that you resonate with, and that'll help you choose those different essential oils. Then what you can do is you can work with just one. Maybe cedarwood has stood out to you today, maybe patchouli has in this conversation, or you could make your own blend together with them. Now, my favorite ways for base chakra is really, I love to do like foot massages, and you don't have to get a full foot massage, but even just massaging a little bit into the foot and then letting those feet rest on the bare earth. It's a really nice way of just slow it. Now, that's going to take a bit of time. That's going to slow you down. That's going to ground you, and that's going to do wonders for not only your feet, but also your base chakra as well. How would you necessarily use base chakra essential oils, Liz?
So I tend to use it. It sounds very rude, on the perineum itself, also on the coccyx, on the base of the coccyx, also on the back of the neck. So if you like follow up the spine, your head kind of goes into like a cradle, doesn't it? Means it will go straight to the brain. And because when I'm working in the Sensorium approach, I'm always coming through the emotional and mental aspect. So how are your emotions doing? Then that gets it quickly to the brain centers for the limbic system fast. And then, of course, that interaction with the emotion will transact back into the physical body and into the chakra. But also, more recently, I've become really interested in mudras. Because did you know that there's mudras for the root chakra?
Yes. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, so I won't share too much because I'm going to do a video about it. But part of the Sensorium approach is to kind of go, I'll have a bit of that, 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 and throw the bookcase at it so that you get the most root chakra from Root Chakraville. So it's like, what else? So we've got crystals, we've got music, we've got all of those things. And I was like, oh, people know about mudras. Let's go and have a look about mudras. And for a while I was thinking, well, okay, but I don't think that I can really embrace this because I don't do yoga, and I'm certainly not Hindu, and that is really cultural misappropriation to do that. But it's teaching me something there that I should definitely feel like I should know about. So I've taken that information and made it into something that's my own. But in Ayurveda, they say that the fingers are different elements. And so the ring finger is your earth element. And so the mudra for the earth element uses like a like that. And so the earth chakra comes, the earth energy goes up the earth and then down back in. So you have this rotation through the earth energy. So putting oils on there in that cycle, I find that really lovely. And doing it by my face, of course, you can inhale it really fast. So, and I looked and I was like, so do they use essential oils to do that? And there's no sign that they do anywhere, which was really surprising to me. So I interrogated it more of like, well, this is my idea. Does this exist anywhere? And in Tantra, a similar idea exists, that one can sort of overlay an idea onto an energy point so that that deity or that seed or that energy goes into the energetic field. Now, Naisana, it's called, and they wouldn't use oils because they believe that everything exists within the energetic field. So why would you need to do that? So it isn't tantric, but I really like this idea. And so, for example, the deity that they would put into the energetic field would be Ganesha. Well, again, sorry, Ganesha's not one of my gods. I don't want to steal somebody else's god. So what exists within my framework? And I was thinking, well, animals. Bees. Can I make a bee framework over this? So this I have. So I'm not going to tell you too much about that. So people can come and watch the video about it, find it on my channel. But like the beehive has so many different archetypes on its own. Meditating with the mudra, with the essential oil on an aspect of the beehive is really quite fortifying. And I'm very pleased with the whole thing.
I love that. And that's the great thing about chakras, whether it be the base chakra or any of the other energy centers, is there's different ways up the hill. So essential oils open amazing gateways, and we hope in this chat that we've actually been able to give you some ideas on where to start there. Liz has got some other content on her channel where you can check that out about the mudras and this bee concept, which I'm fascinated with. I've also got videos on working with crystals, of course, wearing crystals. I've got my ruby, which is a really great one for empowering the base chakra as well. I've got some content on that as well. In my book, I talk about the best times of year and astrological situations where the base chakra is probably the best one to focus on at the time, because which one do we focus on when? I'll give you some guidance on that. But we hope that we've whet your appetite and got you thinking about how to make some beautiful blends and situations for yourself to slow down, to feel steady, to feel safe and secure with your base chakra. And don't forget that we are going to go through all of the different chakras as well. Liz.
So I just want to say this is obviously a new adventure for us. So I would love it if you would post comments below and tell us what you think about it. And we do have 6 months worth of content mapped out. But if there's stuff you would like us to cover, please do put it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It makes such a difference to us.
Until our next episode, take care and go and settle down and focus on that base chakra. We'll see you soon. Blessed be.
Bye-bye.
Whoa. One more thing before you go. Hopefully you got a little bit more excited about essential oils in this episode, and you may be running off to go buy some more. Now, before you do that, I want to talk to you about quality of essential oils. Did you know that around the world there is no regulation or governance about the labeling of essential oils? Anyone can call an essential oil pure, natural, organic, and it doesn't have to be. In fact, 75% of what's sold as lavender around the world is not even from the lavender plant. This can be ineffective in an oil, but it can also mean that the oil can be harmful for you. Not only physically, but metaphysically, it's not going to work well either. So I went on a journey to find the best essential oils that I can trust, and I found doTERRA to be absolutely amazing. Not only do they test all their essential oils, but they have an independent third party test them at the end of their journey to make sure only in the bottle is what nature intended. However, if you want to get doTERRA essential oils, don't just jump on their website. Reach out to me and I'll give you a discount code so you can get them at a cheaper price. But I don't just want you getting essential oils. I want you to learn how to use them each and every day for the body, mind, heart, and for the spirit as well. So when you become one of my customers, you get free access to a lifetime discount code. We have online portals where you can learn more, and we have giveaways and freebies and all different things like that. So I'd love you to join my wellness community. Simply click on the links below and let's get started with you using real essential oils as nature intended.